Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on optimizing price and cluster workload management with Databricks. My name is Adil Aslam. I'm with Royal Cyber, a proud Databricks partner and digital transformation leader. So, thank you all for joining in. In the next hour, uh, we are going to be exploring how we can maximize performance and minimize cost on Databricks by fine-tuning your cluster configuration and workload strategies. So whether you belong from a data engineering background, if you're an architect or decision maker looking to get the most out of your Databricks investment, this session is going to be packed with a lot of practical insight that you can apply right away. So we'll also be sharing some real world tips and best practices we've gained from working with various clients across the industry. So we'll be covering several important topics around the optimizing pricing and cluster workload using Databricks. But just want to give you a disclaimer that keep in mind that these topics are very deep in depth in itself. And while we won't be diving into the weeds for everyone, our goal is to give you a solid high level understanding and practical insights that you can apply right away. And in the end, I'm going to also give you guys an opportunity to ask a question that you guys might have. So just wait till then. So I want to introduce ourselves on the panel. So today I'm joined by an incredible panel with subject matter experts who bring deep experience insights from their various domains. So beginning with myself, like I said, I'm Adil from Royal Cyber. We are a proud Databricks partner and digital transformation leader. And I have a strong background in data modernization, governance, and machine learning engineering domains. Along with me, I have Subramanian from Speedboat. He's Databricks MVP and certified instructor. And also joining us today is Allison Baker. She's from Databricks. She's a solution architect at Databricks. So with that, Subramanian, do you want to take a moment and
Sure.
introduce yourself?
Hey, folks. So Subramanian here. I'm so glad to be here. Now, a bit about myself is that I've been doing Spark for 11 years now and consulting for 25 years. I did 4 years at Databricks as an employee, as a solution architect. That's how I know Allison. We were peers, we were colleagues. And of course, these days, in the last 2 years, I run my own business called Speedboat. We offer hyper specialized Databricks focused trainings, okay, and advisory consulting. Like we don't do the regular consulting is Royal Cyber. We help, we do advisory consulting. So that's that. Now, a few of my teammates, and if you look in that in the thing, you notice many ex Databricks people, many champions. So we have a very specialized team that we can go very very deep essentially. So that's our quick pitch. Allison.
Yes, hi, good morning, good afternoon, folks. Thank you all for joining. Sue's got his Databricks certification jacket on. I could run into my closet, put mine on too, but so excited to be here. I've been with Databricks for just about 4 years. I'm based in Nashville, and I was at HCA for about a decade prior to that. I was their director of supply chain analytics and a data scientist. So generally focused on working with the business on the business side of the house. And right now, my role is to support healthcare provider accounts. And I like to operate under the multipliers attitude and that nothing is mine until it's yours. So I really appreciate being here today. A little bit about me personally. I'm, like I said, based in Nashville, born and raised in Cleveland. I'm married with two Shih Tzus and a bird, and you see some medals behind me. I'm a proud retired marathon runner, and I sang the farmersonly.com jingle just to add a little bit of color to my background. So appreciate you all. Thank you.
Fabulous, fabulous. So before we dive into today's session, I also want to take a moment to describe and introduce about Royal Cyber. Royal Cyber is a global IT consulting and digital transformation company. We've been in industry for over 2 decades with a lot of experience delivering innovative solutions across the industry. And we specialize in a wide range of technologies, including cloud, data engineering, AI, ML, application modernization, and enterprise integration. Uh, we are also a trusted partner of leading platforms like Databricks, AWS, Microsoft, Salesforce. We have a lot of enterprises unlock their real business value through cutting edge technologies. So we have a global presence and a strong team of certified experts. Royal Cyber is committed to helping organizations driving growth, improve agility, and gain data-driven insights. So today webinar is part of our ongoing effort to share knowledge and demonstrate how powerful tools like Databricks can transform the way you work with your data. So without further ado, I want to get started with our discussion. So, so the first question I would like to pose is, what are the key challenges organizations typically face when scaling their big data processing on Databricks? So,
Allison, do you want to go take a stab first?
Sure, absolutely. So I guess the biggest thing and probably most importantly is really having a governance and security model that's going to fit that scaling. I work with a lot of customers who they from the get-go really want to get into the weeds and developing pipelines and things. But a lot of times, I know we want to, we want to see the entire village before we start building it, one house at a time. But it's important to take a step back and make sure that how we've provisioned everything and how we've had all the fun networking conversations that all aligns before we start, the actual process of scaling things out.
Yeah, very well said. In my opinion, the topic of the webinar is exactly what that is. I think the biggest challenge I personally see is people bring old ideas from the Hadoop world, ideas from the data warehousing world, and they end up using the platform incorrectly, and that causes cost overruns. And then they'll say, "Oh, it's costing too much," and that really hurts. I mean, I've seen this multiple times, right? So I think making the right choices, working with the right people, will set you up for success. I'll give you an example, okay? Let's be specific, right? Since it's a technical audience. Uh, Delta Lake is a fantastic platform to manage your data estate, right? But a lot of folks will say, oh, I have workloads already with doing things in Parquet. So I'm going to still do things in Parquet and not use Delta Lake. And that choice hurts because Delta Lake has so many performance optimization techniques baked into it that you're now letting go of all of that and you're sticking with 20-year-old technology essentially. So that's one example, and we'll talk more, of course, as we go ahead. So that's my first initial thoughts.
yeah, that's awesome. I mean, especially talking about Delta Lake. So one of the things that really is taking over is the asset capabilities that Delta Lake brings in, and that's really a game changer. That was not in the early days, but many enterprises are driving a lot of value out of those. Yeah, definitely.
Just to think about, right? For 18 years, okay. So Parquet, I mean, Hadoop is what late 2000, early 2000, sorry. Till 2018, the data lake was essentially unmanaged, was just a bucket of files, and it took Databricks in 2018 to solve it. We created Delta Lake, we open sourced it, and that's when the lakehouse became a thing, right? So it took a generation for the industry to solve the problem. We solved it in a beautiful, elegant way. Um, and of course, the world has now moved on. Nobody does the old stuff anymore. So just put things in perspective. It's a good thing.
Yeah, just to layer on top of that, I would say, not feeling like you have to reinvent the wheel. You're not alone. This is a we problem. When I'm talking to customers today and we're faced with a challenge, I need to remind myself that the questions that now where we're at in development and technology, none of these questions are new. We face them in other accounts. So it's really just a matter of the enablement, working with your partners, aligning that enablement to your use cases so that it makes sense with what's being implemented. And again, just, eating the elephant one bite at a time, but knowing that the resources are available to you if you just ask for help.
Absolutely.
That's correct. And it's really about giving more control to customers, especially with Delta Lake, all of the features like time travel and everything. It really sets client in a controlling position that they can really do whatever they want to do with their tech because they are the one who owns. So absolutely with you guys.
100%.
All right. So, uh, so the next question that I'm gonna float is, could you guys want to share some best practices around tuning Apache Spark jobs on Databricks to enhance processing efficiency? I'm asking this because this is a question that I frequently come across in the community. So I would like you guys to share some lights on that.
I mean, I can take a first stab. This is perhaps the most common question that we get, right? Um, my job's too slow. It's costing too much. And I'll give the first one. Like there are 5 S's in when it comes to data processing in parallel, which is what Spark does. The first is storage, and then you have then you have the shuffle, skew, spill, serialization. Uh, Storage is by far the biggest factor in performance efficiency. Why? Because your data is sitting in S3. There is every file you're fetching is an API call. Um, if you're doing things in old formats like Parquet, for example, non-optimized formats, then you are making thousands and thousands of API calls to load data sets. This is for every query. That stuff begins to hurt very quickly. So optimize your data layout, right? Use liquid clustering, use Z ordering with Delta from Databricks. Those things will make your queries go faster, right? Allison, please.
This is a little bit of a trick question. I would say use serverless. So let's not worry about tuning all the knobs. Let's let the system and the intelligence platform, we've rebranded ourselves as the data intelligence platform, still the lake house, but it's that intelligence engine that's listening to how you're using the data, ensuring you have all of your data being managed through Unity Catalog, again, circling back to that data governance, but allowing the system to leverage the internal AI of Databricks to understand how you're using your data and how do you need those jobs to scale, allowing for the use of things like auto scaling. And, we have SQL, or we have the serverless capabilities now across all of our workflows, and those are all GA. So we started with just DB SQL serverless, and now we have it on workflows/jobs. We have DLT serverless. We have interactive serverless as well. So you still have the ability to do that tuning should you want it. And we do work with a lot of customers who maybe due to certain security implications aren't able to use the serverless offerings, and we're working with those folks. But with doing testing and just kind of taking a small amount of data, recognizing though too that things aren't linear. Just because you throw more compute at it doesn't mean it's going to linearly scale. So got off a call this morning with a customer who's working with JSL, John Snow Labs, and parsing all of these physicians' notes and then trying to remove all of the PII from it. And they're doing a lot of testing and running to some blockers because they're expecting to see that linear scale. And there's a lot of different options that you have. We have guidelines, we have documentation and guidelines. So if you're able to use our serverless offerings, that would be really a key to success there.
Actually, you know what? You bring a great point, Allison. I wish I led with that. This is why we have wisdom of the crowd, right? Serverless is amazing. Uh, Anybody who has seen the progression of Spark over the years will see that Databricks has been adding so much intelligence to the engine behind that I absolutely think in the next 5 years you won't even need to know about Spark to use Databricks. That's my personal thought. I think Spark is going to become the engine behind the scenes. It's going to be fully automated, fully AI optimized. You just run queries, right? And so I think we're definitely getting there. Serverless is definitely the way to go. If you're not using it, use it.
I agree with you because when we interact with, especially with DLTs, we are seeing that uh, Spark might be in upcoming days more become an abstract layer for the end customers.
Yeah,
And the serverless is also a game changer. I don't have to put a lot of my effort in picking like what compute I need. I don't have to do all the calculation. And not only that, it saves me work, it saves cost at client end too because we don't
true.
have to do all of the heavy lifting part.
A lot of people think serverless is more expensive, but if you think about it, because it includes the VM cost also, you give Databricks you get one bill from Databricks that includes the DBUs and the VMs. If you add the two together, you're actually saving money on serverless. So it is
Absolutely spot on.
significantly cheaper than doing it on your own.
Yeah. And even though if your workloads are offline, you are still charged by the cloud providers for the VMs that are
Yeah.
because they've still provisioned it, even though they are offline, they still charge you something.
Right, right.
So based on our experience, we were able to save significant amount of capital investments our clients were originally putting before the serverless. So that's definitely for everybody to check out on.
Mhm.
Awesome.
All righty.
And then when
Um,
there's going to be I know there is a I'm an MVP, so I get sneak preview into what's happening. There are lots of optimizations coming in on serverless. When you listen to Data and AI Summit in June, I'm sure they'll be announcing a whole bunch of stuff. So stay tuned.
can't wait. Yeah. All right. We were talking about a lot about data and storage. So when it comes to storage, what are the best practices around partitioning your data, caching it, and to avoid any bottlenecks that the Spark may encounter?
So Subu kind of alluded to this already with some of our capabilities that are just available out of the box when you use the Delta Lake and Delta tables. So one of those being liquid clustering. No, you don't have to worry about how to partition the data and which columns to do that partitioning. So we've built in a lot of that automation for you. We also have things like predictive optimization and deletion factors that all of these different capabilities, they're all incorporated. There's no additional fee or price to using any of these things, and they layer on one another, and some of them require each other. But thinking about, going into creating a workflow and needing to establish every time I create a Delta table that I need to Z order and that I need to Delta cache and what I need to Z order on, you still have that capability if that's where you want to go, but you don't have to with working with our latest DBRs, our latest Databricks runtimes.
I think Allison's being too modest. I will make an even bolder statement. I say, number one, stop partitioning. Okay, it's a 20-year-old design. There is no need to do data partitioning anymore. Think about it. Delta Lake bought Z ordering and support in 2018. That's 6 years since then. Okay, there is a new sheriff in town. It's called liquid clustering. Liquid clustering has a whole bunch of other extra bits in it. It's very sophisticated. It's got deletion vectors. Allison talked about it. It is a far better format. Okay, so this is a bit of a trick question. Don't use data partitioning. No need to do caching. With liquid clustering and with the latest DBRs that you use in Databricks, you will get all of this taken care of. Okay, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So
We
no
mentioned
green.
in
Yeah.
the other question, it mentioned skew and spill. This liquid clustering is going to give you this performance out of the box because it's doing the clustering on writes and making these consistent data skipping, making data more consistent for data skipping. So it's in a sense almost immune to that data skew. So you have really, and with the row level concurrency and massively parallel processing, there's a lot that goes into each of these. So if there are specific questions that, as we come to the conclusion of some of these questions that we've queued up on how to do some of these things, we can. I know at a high level we're kind of introducing some of these topics, but really, we're trying to build so much that you can just get off to the races, just start running, just start using Databricks and not have to, worry so much about what's happening underneath the covers.
100%.
Excellent. All right. So I know Databricks is evolving so rapidly. What do you guys want to say? Like, I'll pose this question to both of you. What are some new cool features that excites you both most?
Go ahead, Sue.
Okay, I mean, I'll go first. I think we kind of touched on this, right? One is, I think the serverless stuff is very exciting. Number one, because you all know, right? The pain of waiting 5 minutes, 6 minutes for a cluster to start up. That is painful. Uh, with serverless, you get 5-second, 10-second startups. So that's one. The second thing we talked about liquid clustering, row level concurrency. Row level concurrency is very, very exciting. Okay. Uh, I don't know how many of you remember the 20, 30 years ago, databases were table level locking and page level locking. And Oracle was the first to bring row level concurrency, row level locking. And there was a huge boost in performance. We are now bringing that same principle to the data lake. With row level locking, you will see a massive boost in write performance, right? And so I'm looking forward to see what we can do with I think there's going to be some great announcements happening in a few months around deletion vectors, row level concurrency. So I'm hoping. Let's see.
Yeah, and from a ingestion standpoint, I think about how most folks have data sources all over the place. So you may have some on-prem systems, and maybe there's a migration path that you're planning for later this year. But let's start doing some testing. Let's get in there. Let's not slow down our development of new products because we're waiting on all of these ingestions to happen, across the board. So Lakeflow Connect is a really easy point and click way within the UI to connect to a lot of these sources, and we're rolling out different systems gradually. We've already got things set up so that really easily you can connect to Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday, and then we have a lot of the SQL Server capabilities. We're also working with some of our, healthcare companies and how that Epic data could be ingested more easily. And so as we get feedback from our customers and as we build more of these out of the box ingestion tools, it's really going to speed up the pace that you're able to ideate and then deliver on new products.
I don't know. Epic was in the works too, but that's great to hear. I mean, Epic has been healthcare records are always so complex. The talk about that. The other thing that's super complex and difficult to import was been SAP. And so one thing that I'm super excited about is this whole SAP Databricks integration on the SAP Business Data Cloud. I have known customers spend millions and millions of dollars putting those pipelines from SAP to Databricks to Lakehouse. That is going to become now, again, hopefully dramatically simplified, right? So lots of good stuff.
Yeah,
Again,
the whole message
yeah,
is just to avoid that data duplication from a storage standpoint. Yes, cloud storage is cheap, but it can get expensive. if you don't keep it in check. And so let's not duplicate data just because it exists over here. Traditionally, yeah, we have to make a full copy into, ADLS or S3 or, wherever we're working. So let's avoid that. Leave the data and bring the compute to the data. And that's really the direction that we're marching towards.
Fabulous, fabulous. So I just have a follow-up question. Like, we work with various clients, and some of them have a lot of regulations around data, be it a specific sector, it could be because of the region. So, how does Databricks work for clients with their data being in on-prem rather than being on the cloud? Do we see any lags? How does that strategy work?
Do you want me to start with that one, Subu?
Go for it. I know where you're going. So
Okay. So everybody's favorite answer, it depends. So I would say, what's the use case? What are the requirements? So we have things like query federation, where you can essentially push the compute still running on-prem, but the results are being surfaced up and viewed in Databricks and then saved in memory. And you have your options on whether or not you want to write that, materialize that, and then use it more downstream. So, and there's some stipulations on how much data and how often would you want to be using that particular capability. And then there are also some instances where maybe we don't have a direct connection outlined today. For example, we don't have that direct connect, that direct way to take Clarity, Caboodle, Epic data and get it into Databricks without putting a copy of that data into ADLS. So sometimes we do still need to do that copy, but let's just be mindful on how we're doing that and then continue to look for some of these newer capabilities. That was the case for SAP. You had to make full copies. And we've listened to the customers' voices have been heard, and now we have that direct integration.
So as I anticipated, Allison led with Unity Catalog, Lakehouse Federation. That was my top choice too. Your data can sit in your MS SQL, your Postgres on-prem. You go to Unity, you basically set up a foreign catalog, and everything that you have in your on-prem database will be reflected, but it's basically a pointer, right? So as far as your SQL is concerned, your notebooks are concerned, you will hit those tables, you will work with data, but it's virtualized. Internally, Unity is fetching the data from the underlying system, bringing it to compute clusters. You're doing all the work in Databricks compute. You get best of both worlds, right? The only worry I have is you might end up killing your database if you hit it too much, if you hit it too hard from too many clusters, right? But at least connectivity is there.
Okay. Yeah, it's great to have this option with data being the new gold of this era. This is going to be a really powerful feature for sectors or clients who are very possessive about their data, not leaving their sites. So good to know that.
It's not the ideal pattern. We would never lead with it, but it's a good transition pattern, right?
Gotcha.
While you so you can keep things running while you bring everything over to Lakehouse, which is the proper scalable pattern.
Yeah.
Great to know that.
Yeah.
All right. So that was really awesome. Thank you, Subramanian and Allison, for sharing these valuable insights. I wish we had more time to cover some more new upcoming features. But with that, we are going to head towards participant and give them the opportunity to ask any question that they might have.
Yeah.
So I welcome you, everyone. If you guys have any questions, you guys can post it on the chat, or you can also raise hands, and we will we will allow you to speak out. So
yeah, I know we touched a few topics. This is only we have only 30 minutes, so we kind of go a little high. If you want us to go deeper, just let us know. We can go as deep as you want.
Sure. So one question from Pedro is, yes, the question is, will the session be recorded and shared? Of course, Pedro. So the links will be shared. You will get the email, and you can always visit the same webinar page link, and you will see all the details over there. After the webinar, we will post the links up there. All
Thank you,
right.
Pedro.
Yeah. Okay. I see somebody's typing, so I'm just gonna. Okay. Okay, so the question is, how do you approach tuning a cluster configuration to balance both performance and cost in Databricks environment?
Okay. So how do you? Okay. So there are 4 questions I typically ask. Okay, when I'm tuning a job. The first question I'll typically ask is, how much data are you pulling? Okay, you have a query, you have a workload. Do you know how many megabytes or petabytes or gigabytes of data you're pulling? That's the first question. Second question, how many files are you hitting? It could be 1 terabyte, but it could be 10,000 files. It could be 1,000 files. Okay, so how many files? Uh, because the more files you pull, the longer the more API time you're going to burn through, right? That's the first 2 questions. Third question I'm going to ask is, what are you doing with it? Okay, how complex is your query? Is it causing lots of shuffles? Is it causing do you need all the columns? The usual common sense ones, right? Are you dropping all the columns? Are you filtering as many rows as possible before you do the hard work? So that's the third thing. That determines query complexity. And the last one is, what's your parallelism, which is how many cores are you applying to it, right? Uh, and if you have those 4 things tuned, you'll see your cost, your query performance will automatically improve over time. The last one, of course, is, where are you running it? Are you running it on serverless or classic? If you're doing it on classic, you'll probably pay a little more money. Put it on serverless, you pay less money, right? There are some choices there too on the price performance side, right?
Yeah.
And I'll let Allison take on some more points there, but that's my first thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's no easy button, and start with some sample data and do some testing. And also, oftentimes when we get asked a question, just like with Subbu, you asked a question and then he came back with a question. So how much data is it? Do you have the requirements? So, when we go in and have these conversations, we're going to ask you, what is most important to you? Where are the pains within your organization? Are you having issues with jobs not completing on time? And let's take a look at that. Are we having issues with costs escalating? And we do want to balance those things, which my second point would be that, Data and AI Summit plug again, because we're announcing some new kind of ways that we're packaging our serverless offerings that will give you a choice between costs versus performance. So oftentimes, if performance is what's important, then maybe cost is going to be a little bit higher, but we don't always want that to be true. So
Yep.
Subbu alluded to earlier that we're making some enhancements to serverless to make that cheaper. So, Ali has really made it a big priority. I don't know how public he's been about it, but I'm comfortable with saying that he's made cost a big priority, and making sure that customers are feeling like Databricks is not too expensive. And so we want you to not have to make that decision.
100%.
Got it.
Now, this, of course, like Allison said, this is a deep, deep, deep topic. Okay, there is no way we can do justice in 30 minutes. Um, yeah, so this is where I'll always say, get help. Join the user groups. Come to webinars like this. Become friends with folks like Adil, Allison, myself. We'll help you. Okay.
Of course, absolutely. So the second question that's being asked is for organizations just beginning their Databricks journey, what key optimization strategies should they focus on to set a strong foundation?
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, yeah, it's just so off the top of my head, take a look at your governance and security, get that locked down, lead with Unity Catalog. Unity Catalog is what's going to be listening to how you're using the data and make recommendations to how to further optimize that. So out of the gate, start with those Unity Catalog tables, whether you're working with a foreign catalog or you're working with a managed table within Unity Catalog. Get that governance set so that all your downstream workflows, you have lineage and auditability and visibility into where things might need more addressing down the road.
Yeah. Um, similar lines, right? I've seen far too many architecture diagrams where some enterprise architect puts a million boxes on the diagram, right? We'll use Databricks for this little thing, and we'll use function or whatever, step functions or lambda, da da da, and they'll make this super complex Rube Goldberg machine, and then of course it will fail or it'll become too expensive, and then Databricks gets blamed for it or whatever. My simple suggestion is keep it simple. Databricks is a unique platform. I don't think there is any comparison out there where you can build the entire thing from intake, from data intake to ETL to machine learning to analytics to visualization with governance. You can do it all in one platform. So I will say start with that.
Mhm.
Okay. And then start to layer on extra bits. You want some fancy reporting? Yeah, then layer on Tableau. We have integration for that. Tableau or Power BI, whatever you like. You want some fancy, super low latency OLTP? Sure. You layer on an OLTP database, use Lakehouse Federation, plug it in, right? So that's where I would start. Don't overcomplicate things in the beginning. Okay, you'll tie yourself in knots.
And the reason you can do that, or one of the reasons you can do that, is because we are fundamentally based in open source standards, and we're not a vendor lock-in platform. We're cloud agnostic. So we have lots of customers who are across different zones, across different clouds, and we have a lot of global customers as well. And so Databricks can be that central hub, and then you can plug and play as other tools come into existence. We don't want you to have to change things that are working for you today, but if you can leverage the governance and the lineage and all of the goodies within Databricks, then you're set up for success.
Got it.
100%. Yeah.
So the other question is, and I'm going to say that the question is itself uh, is a big subject in itself. If I'm not going to say it's a career in itself. So the question is, what are the common mistakes or pitfalls you observe when the teams try to optimize their Databricks environments?
Common pitfalls when they try to optimize Databricks. I think number one is that whole partitioning thing. Like I said, it's people try to do partitioning because they're like, oh, that's going to improve my data skipping. Partitioning is one way to do data skipping. It's an old way. Remove it. What else? Don't reinvent the wheel. Right? Is my second. Again, Allison talked about that, right? You be familiar with the latest and greatest in Databricks. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. Adopt those abilities.
And don't just throw more compute at something. We can't prevent people from writing bad queries. They used to call me the queen of subqueries, and that's just how I thought about code apparently. But taking something that has been in existence for 10 years, a snippet of code, and it didn't run well in another tool, and it still doesn't run very efficiently in Databricks,
Mhm.
the code may not be great. So let's take a look at that. If it's, it's pandas, we need to refactor it to, to PySpark, or it's just a really bad SQL query, and we need to think about things a little bit differently, or we have a notebook and some of the views need to be materialized. Like just throwing more compute at something isn't always going to improve the performance, and it could also, of course, end up in costing you a lot more.
100%. On that point, I'll say this, right? Think about, I'll use an analogy. If you're an architect, you're building a bridge, okay? You better know exactly what you're building. You better know exactly what the material properties of the stone, the steel, the cables, right? That rigor needs to be there in what we do. As data engineers, we should know what our data volumes are. We should know what the data profile is. We should know what the SLA is. Okay. We should know what we're doing with it. What's the query complexity? And then, when I look at a problem, I can pretty much visualize what's happening behind the scenes, and that helps me pinpoint. Oh, it's going to spill at this stage. It's going to choke in the shuffle, right? Um, and that's the bottlenecks. So ultimately, you need to master the craft,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
why you need to work with experts who will show you how the machine works, right? The Like any machine, Spark is very smart. It will take you there, but to squeeze the nth level of performance, you will need to know exactly what knobs to tweak, right? I'll give you
So,
one analogy, right? Like a cable. So you see this cable in my hand? It's a USB-C Thunderbolt cable. Apple makes a
yeah.
$100 cable, USB-C, $100. Okay, but that cable can do 40 gigs per second of throughput. 40 gigs per second. And yet,
Wow.
if you look at streaming jobs that people write, they will have massive clusters for 1/10 the volume of that. Why? When
Wow.
when a cable like this with an embedded chip, no thermal management, can do 40 gigs per second, why is your job that slow? Okay. To Allison's point, you're writing shitty code and you're throwing compute at it. Not a good
Correct.
solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it better than I
So,
did.
yeah. So speaking about that, I mean, one of the question that I think is quite related to what I'm understanding from the question is, since we're talking about performance, so what are some tools in hand, like which performance metrics and monitoring tools do you guys recommend for tracking resource utilization and ensuring optimal operations on Databricks so one can
Mhm.
isolate the problem, like where exactly my budget is draining. So what did you guys say about that?
I can kick that one off. So right now, today, we have systems tables that exist as just a Delta table within your environment, within Unity Catalog. And we also have automatically built monitoring dashboards that are built off of those tables that will show you all of this information. You can build your own KPIs, but out of the box, we give you some things to think about as far as long running queries, maybe some data quality metrics that we would recommend, and you can build alerts on those things. You can also set up an automation that will kill a job. Let's say you know that you don't want anybody running a SQL query that runs longer than 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can set that up as well. And we have some capabilities that are more automated that will be making recommendations, kind of like, hey, did you know, like a pop-up, did you know that, this is happening this way? And have you tried these things? Those are all on our roadmap to make things far more automated. But today we give you a series of tables that give you all of your query history again. Everything is audited with Unity Catalog, and then you can do that monitoring. And if you need to get alerted, whether it's Microsoft Teams, Slack, or an email, you have the option to build those expedited alerts as well.
Absolutely. On a lower level, if you go and look at, so like let's pick SQL for example, right? There is a SQL warehouse you've given to a team, and you're worried the team is doing some silly queries like massive select stars and big tables. There is a monitoring page where you can go and see every query that runs, historical record. You can click and you can see the performance of each query. And that view the query profiler view that we give is very elegant. It is the newest query profiler view is very, very good. It'll tell you how many files you're fetching, how many bytes you're reading, how much of it is cached, all that good stuff. So you'll pretty much, just looking at that, you'll know, hey, why is XYZ fetching 3 terabytes on this query, right? And you can go ask the person, hey, and you can see the query right there. It'll say, oh, you didn't put a where clause, right? So stuff like that. It's very easy to catch bad performers or resource hogs with this, right? So a good admin will know where to look, and we have some very good tools there.
These are absolutely good tools in our toolbox to have. Definitely, these are good troubleshooting techniques you guys have shared. Okay, I'm gonna take a last question. Okay, it's related to what role does automation and even machine learning play in modern optimization strategies with Databricks?
Oh, fantastic question. Alice, do you want to take a stab at that?
I guess there's a couple ways to interpret that. I would say, you're set up to do all of your data science and ML, and you're serving as well. And as far as automation, specific capabilities, things like being able to just out of the box create auto ML. Basically, let's say you have your data cleansed and you want to just take a stab at a first model within the UI. You can essentially have a model and have the performance and do some experiments with just some point and clicking, and then register that model and deploy that model, and also integrate any of the Gen AI capabilities that you'd like to on top of that. So that's kind of where I would start with that.
So I took the question in a different interpretation. My interpretation was, how is ML being applied for optimization, and that's the way
Internally within the platform itself. Yeah.
So okay. I'll give some pointers there. Databricks has been applying ML internally in the system in multiple places. One of them is predictive optimization in Unity Catalog. When you turn on predictive optimization, we will monitor your queries, we'll monitor your tables, we'll monitor the state of your, how data is laid out. We'll auto-optimize, we'll auto-cluster, and these use machine learning algorithms, by the way, in the back. So there's AI being applied here. The other thing, of course, is in liquid clustering, again, when a row is being added, which cluster do you assign it to? There is a machine learning algorithm being applied there. So partitioning is very naive, right? The new liquid clustering is very sophisticated. Layout is a hard problem. Again, we solve it with AI.
Mhm.
Okay. And there are more, I'm sure. I just can't think of more options right now, but I'll lead with those two.
From a visualization standpoint too, with our AI BI dashboards, where before we were calling them DB SQL dashboards, but with our AI BI dashboards, essentially you're able to ask Databricks, show me the sales for the last 6 months by region, and it'll plot that for you. And so you essentially can talk to your data text to SQL within the SQL editor, and then also in order to build your visualizations. And within building those visualizations as well, we have somewhat of a chatbot capability. We're calling that Genie, where you can, again, ask questions of the data, because in a sense, whenever we build dashboards, the business users, the stakeholders, they already have the question in mind when they open up the dashboard. So what if they can just talk to the data instead of us having to build a dashboard, have them review it, and cycle through iteration after iteration, add all these different filters. Let's just give our users the option to ask questions and get the answers quickly. And then in theory, we could cut out the need to build these dashboards.
Understand.
And that's what really is called interactive reporting. You can really talk to your reports and data. So that's really a cool feature. All right. Thank you for all those questions, guys. Uh, so those all were very good questions. I want to take a moment, and I wish we could have more time to go take more questions, but we unfortunately we have a limit on time. So thank you for all those questions once again. So at Royal Cyber, we partner closely with Speedboat and Databricks, and we serve our customers and provide end-to-end support from consultation and training and to fully managing your data engineering and ML workloads. So if you're interested in exploring how we can help, feel free to scan the QR code on your screen, what you see up here. We are offering a complimentary 80 hours free consultation. You can utilize these hours in a variety of ways, however you want it, whether it's a jump start, an assessment, a thorough assessment. If you want us to take a look and help you with performance tuning, and even a health check of your current setup. And additionally, if you guys have any additional or specific questions, you can use the email that you see on the screen to shoot us an inquiry, and we'll love to hear back from you. Do you want to share about like how
Sure.
you can you
So
help with training?
I'll make my obligatory pitch is that you got a glimpse in this last hour of there is a great advancement that's happened in the platform. There's also things where you will need to know how things work behind the scenes to master it, right? And that's what we do. So Speedboat, my business, we offer coaching and support. Our most popular course is performance optimization. Our second most popular course is streaming, right? And of course, we have DLT, we have governance with Unity Catalog, we have a fairly large catalog. So if you need any help, two things: hit me up on LinkedIn. There is a QR code. There is also my LinkedIn URL. Hit me on LinkedIn. Follow us, like us, always helps. If you have any questions, if you like us to help you tailor your needs, drop me an email. All right.
Thank you.
Cool.
Allison, do you want to share some of the upcoming events and
Yeah,
meetups you are going to
absolutely.
be part
Yeah.
of?
Real quickly, just like with Subu, reach out to me on LinkedIn, just message me, ask questions. And also check out, I didn't yet mention Data Intelligence Days. So these are Data Intelligence Days are free Databricks on-site um, meetings, essentially, where we'll have some folks from our leadership team be available, and we'll be hosting some trainings and things. And we do these across the globe. I know recently we just finished one in Chicago, but we have a lot of available training there that, if you're not sure where to start, just show up and talk to somebody and we'll help you out. And along those lines as well, register for our Data and AI Summit. We have the in-person option, which you have to get yourself out there, but we also have a virtual option where you'll still get access to a lot of our keynotes and access to a select set of some of the online streaming lessons as well. And just try us out at no cost. You can spin up a $400 credit instance of Databricks and start playing, run some of our demos. We have quite a few demos available, and using just a pip install, and this is all a completely separate instance from anything that you have set up today in any of your clouds. So give it a shot, see what you like, and again, of course, reach out.
Can I say one thing? I'm going to be there in person at the Data and AI Summit in San Francisco. Allison's going to be there. Royal Cyber is going to be there. They have been there every single year for many years now. So we would love to see you if you're in town. So drop us a note if you're planning to visit, and we'll plan to connect. Okay.
Sure. Yep. All right. So before we wrap up, I'd like to share that we are planning the next event on May 8th. So if there's a specific topic you guys would like us to cover, feel free to drop your suggestion in the chat, or feel free to email us. We'd love to hear from you and tailor the future sessions to what matter most to you. Uh, we are open to do like how Spark structured streaming and DLTs are helping. We are open to any topic, so
Yeah.
feel free to drop it in the chat box, whatever topics you guys want us to cover. All right, so as we close, I encourage you, all of you, to take a moment to participate in the quick poll and survey that will appear at the end of this webinar. Your feedback really helps us to improve and brings you more relevant content. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Subbu and Allison, for being part of this conversation. It was all really helpful insights, and I hope you found the session valuable and learned quite a few new things today. So until next time, take care and have a great rest of your day. See you on May 8th. Thank you, guys. Thank you.